Hello, 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 hello. So it looks like my internet is trying to act up on me. Hi, my name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug. You have just joined in to the Business Plugs Mixer. I'm here every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And did you all enjoy that hour? We got to sleep a little later this morning. I know I did. But before I have a wonderful guest, we're going to have a great conversation. But before I go there, it's open enrollment time for my next cohort of business owners who want to learn how to do business well. January the 9th, I'm going to have a class that is going to teach business owners how to firm up their infrastructures. If you're interested in that course, please reach out to me. I think my getthebusiness.org link is in the discussion wherever you're watching this. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell on YouTube so you'll know when I'm on. I am very interested in having business conversations for business people. And so tonight is like no different. So I call her Ani, and you all call her Ingrid. So hello, Ani. How are you?
Hello, Miss Linda. How are you doing?
I
Nice
am
to see
good.
you.
I am so good. So how is the weather in Canada, first of all?
Well, it snowed last week, but it melted. It's still kind of mild. I don't know. It's been a mild fall.
See,
How's the weather
see,
out in Tennessee?
see, mild fall in Canada means snow. Let me just let me just tell you, down south, down south in the states, snow is definitely a winter activity. It's not. It is not a mild fall, ma'am. I love it. I love it. You all up there where the cold weather are, the
Oh yeah.
cold temperatures are.
Yes.
We don't do that down south. We know. Right about now, we get cool and cold. That's it.
Hmm.
No precipitation,
Oh.
no precipitation, no frozen. No, we're not doing that. We shouldn't do that until like February or January of next year.
Mm.
We might get a little bit in December, might, but the bulk of it comes January, February next year. Anything
Mm.
happening right now that has snow in it, that's not on our no.
I might have to go down south.
Girl, I tell you
Mhm.
that we can have all four seasons in one day.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, we can. But we don't do that precipitating, that frozen precipitation. We don't do that this early. We just, ma'am, no, ma'am. And you said it snowed last week, and this is a mild one. I'm thinking not. I mean, a mild fall. I'm thinking, ma'am, that's winter temperatures. It got 32 here when you
Oh
all
wow.
were getting the snow. It got 32 here, and they were like, these are end of November, December temperatures because
Wow.
today it was 76.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, that's how we play down south.
Oh wow. Okay, okay, we are in winter. We're in winter. I
Yeah.
retract my fall and I accept winter.
So yeah, so tell us about Ani. Tell us about you help parents who have children living with autism. You help them find solutions in a plethora of ways. We talked about, and you're even introducing this new AI thing. But so before we get there, let's talk about why you are doing this marvelous thing that you do.
Well, I have my youngest child has autism, and his first word was James Brown.
I love that. I love that.
He had no teeth. James Brown, screaming James Brown, wearing the cape around the house and everything. I didn't know what to do. So, and then that's how I found out he had autism. I just thought he was over the top like his mom. But
I
so
love that.
yeah, and I mean in Canada, institutional racism does exist.
Mm,
At the time I was a student, I was finishing up a multimedia course. I had 17 courses one semester. In one semester I had 3 kids. And so what I did is I'm a poet, so I converted all of my notes into poetry, and I was
mm,
able to study high tech with poetry. So then I was able to mix that in with the James Brown, and my son eventually learned how to read and write. And
Mm.
so I became an arts educator, started working with neurotypical and neurodivergent students. So I was onto something. Then in 2004, I ended up in Texas, and I was invited to perform at the largest poetry festival in the world. And I met
Wow.
a doctor there, and his name was Dr. Byron Koshin, and he had an ADHD clinic in Austin. And he said, what you're doing with the kids with poetry and ADHD and autism, keep on doing that. Don't give up. So I came back to Canada, and I, ended up, you know, working on 4 continents. I ended up at Nelson Mandela's house, and he adopted me. I got to do my writing there, and
I
just,
love it.
but then I was like, well, who do I want to serve? And since I live with autism every day, I decided to start a business where I coach parents of children who have autism and their service providers to navigate through systems during times of uncertainty, because after the pandemic, a lot of parents lost their services. I mean, there's an example where there's a grandfather who called me from Chicago. I live in Canada, and he started showing me signs. So I mean, does your child with eye contact? If your child doesn't make eye contact, walking on their tippy toes, fidgeting, having tantrums. So I helped the grandfather in Chicago get his son assessed. So like the best thing is to get early diagnosis, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so now that's what I do. Like, so now I'm looking for parents who want to work with me. I have there like last week there was a mother who called me from North Carolina, and her son lost his tablet that helps him speak.
Mm.
So, without that tablet, the child can't ask for water, can't ask for basic things. So
Mm.
from Canada, I mean, I helped her get herself a tablet in North Carolina. So then I realized, I'm like, AI is on the rise. And if you have autism, or if you need a tablet, and if you have a disability, you're going to be cut off of the world because AI is going to be everywhere. So then I decided to create the Finding Your North Star Autism Summit in Canada, which will be a hybrid event between Canada and the US. It's going to be, during Black History Month, but on the last year of the decade of Afro descendants under the auspices of the UN. And a lot of our foreparents were denied the right to read, and
Mm.
this is actually what is happening with AI, past beyond slavery. So there's a new kind of technological divide happening, and now we need to focus on AI literacy because we're behind that as well.
Absolutely. I just posted not 20 minutes ago how I met with a small group of business owners, and I had them to write their business description using AI. Because a lot of people have it, but they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know how to make it work and give them positive results. And so tonight I was just browsing through on, I think it was Instagram. I was browsing through, and I saw that one of my students that was in that class has used it to actually do her marketing. And I'm like, yeah.
Amazing.
I'm like, yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. Like, I work with business owners from anywhere, right? But I am specifically dedicated to those people who think that technology is out of reach, or that is something that they can't read. I mean, that is some big thing that you have to be extra smart or extra this or extra that. Because I remember when computers came out, and I remember my son, my oldest son, he went to the Navy, and he came back, and we had AOL, right? And it made
Yes.
noise, and I introduced him to chat rooms, and that boy stayed up for 3 days trying to understand, trying to understand chat rooms, because that wasn't out when he went in the Navy. But when he came back, he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, this is communication around the world, like amazing." And so I remember how freeing that was for him, and for other students I've had since him. He's always been my first student, my
Hmm.
first client. I always say he's my first client. But I remember how how it allowed him to communicate with the people he had just spent 4 years with in the Navy, and how it
Mm.
allowed him to communicate with people around the world. And I wanted other people to have that experience, right? And so by using AI to help with autism, like what? Like that's groundbreaking.
Yeah, it is, but that was just, due to my circumstances. Like, there was like it's so hard to access services.
Yeah.
And even now, like, I mean, I decided to train to become a mental health service provider, so I got my certification. But then what happened was that last year I was very fortunate to train with members of the US Military College, and they trained me on something called VUCA, and
Mm,
that's VUCA. And basically, V is for volatility, U is uncertainty, C is for complexity, and A is for ambiguity.
mm,
So basically, that's, right now we're living in uncertain times. So I learned tactical communication tools with AI. So
mm.
now, I mean, I'm in a position where I understand the challenges that you face, and I've been waitlisted for services. And my mission is to educate and to put the tools in the parents' hands so that they could self-advocate. That's what my mission is. Sorry, with AI.
I love
And
it.
and I mean, AI plays a crucial role. Like it makes sure that parents have the tools in their hand. They could ask for support, and you could train your AI to think like you. My
Mm,
AI
yeah.
speaks like a black lady. It's like,
Absolutely. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. I said it in a 4 hour session yesterday because I always want to stay ahead of my audience, right? And so I said in a 4 hour session yesterday that talked about how to train AI.
hmm
And I know how important that is when you are trying to do communication across the board, right? You want to make sure that it sounds like you, that is in your voice, in your style. And if you have, if I add humor to everything
yes,
because it
as we
lightens some
should.
of the heavy stuff, right? It lightens some of the heavy stuff. And so it even has where you can add that to it, right? So I've just upgraded, and now I'm a full-fledged member of Chat GPT, but I'm
hmm
also using things like Cloud and some of the others that are out there. And I'm learning how to better use those tools so I can do what you're going to do with these parents is help them to use it, right? So parents who have autistic children, what are
Yes.
some of the challenges that you think they're facing right now?
So right now, the three keys is, first of all, it's like self care. A lot of us don't have time to take care of ourselves. First and foremost, getting enough sleep and planning. So when you have the self-care, sleeping properly, eating properly. The second one is, I would say, like, you have just advocacy, like learning what you need. First of all, like when your child has a diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do next, right? A lot of parents don't know. And I help parents with that. And then after that, it's just like, you know, just keeping ahead and like keeping like an advocacy. So that's with an IEP. Like
Right. Yeah.
and how to make an IEP. So basically, you have like, what are your children's strengths? What are your children's weaknesses? And then, like if he's good in math, then maybe you want to ask teacher, well, hey, could we get my child's homework ahead of time?
Mm,
Rather than like at the same time, can we see the curriculum on the first day of school? And then
mm,
as a parent, maybe you want to, although like let's just say school starts in August or September, then maybe you want to start planning school in July, right? Like you want to be ahead of time,
right.
you know. And so just giving strategies based on the parent situation. And I think one of the cool things is that, I mean, well, people underestimate the doctor's note, and like I teach
Mm,
parent like how to use a doctor's note and put it in the IEP, because sometimes teachers don't understand like how to implement the IEP. But if there's a doctor's note in the IEP, well then there's no questioning it. And then the family makes more money, because if your family is structured, then there are less sick days, and then the
Mhm.
child is in better structure. The child is in better health. You have better, you know, better moods, less tantrums. Everything is good. Like once you have routine, which is hard since we're going through uncertain times, and I help with that. You know,
I
one.
love that. I
Mhm.
know that my brother, I was his caretaker for, I was his conservator for 29 years, right? And when you first go into it, like you don't know what you don't know. It's a
Exactly.
whole different thing. And so having somebody to say, okay, it's going to be like this. Here are some resources for you. Like I found that for me, because my brother was he had behavioral health issues. So NAMI was amazing to me because they had videos and they had things that I could it's the National Alliance of Mental Illness and NAMI, and they had videos that I could relate. So this is like that to me, in that if you have an autistic child talking to a parent who's already been through some of the process, because how old is your son now?
He's 25. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
I've been through preschool, high school, university, college, and he's now an entrepreneur. So I was able to leverage his interests, which is genealogy, and now he's a genealogist.
that right there.
So,
That right
hmm
there. He's a genealogist, right?
yes,
And so some parent is at the beginning of this journey, and some people are in the middle, and some are, toward high school or whatever. But knowing that your son could be a genealogist,
or
I mean,
anything they want to
or
be.
anything, yeah. But the
Yeah,
fact that your son could be what he dreams of being, and
yeah,
and you have supported him or
yeah,
her
yeah.
in getting there.
Yeah, it was it was like on some days it was like baptizing a cat. I won't lie. It wasn't it wasn't always easy.
Right, right, but I know it. Hey, water and cats. I know, but the thing about it is, and I take like with my brother, as I learned how to control his environment,
Yes,
as I learned how to control his environment, I learned to not have as many hospitalizations.
exactly. Exactly, because and also I mean, he's never been under any medication. Like I've
Mm,
raised him holistically,
I
and
like it.
I responded to him. I didn't compare him to another, because comparison is a thief of joy.
You
First
know,
of all, when he got his diagnosis, they gave me all of these books, and they're telling me I didn't have time. I'm like, I'll take him as he is, and I'll deal with him, and that's what I did, and I'm very happy. But I've been through the fire, but I had, if I needed resources, I would know where to find them. But now, like, it's harder for parents to access those resources. I mean,
hmm,
my website is the URL is up. It's www.ingrid So
yeah,
that'll
it's
be up, and then I have the Facebook group. Um, the
yeah.
Facebook
I'm gonna put the link to that Facebook group in
yeah, the
this.
Facebook group is called Supporting Parents of Children with Autism During Uncertain Times. And then in February, I'm going to be launching the Finding Your North Star Autism Summit. I mean, that we need more, and the world, like, there's no, like, because basically that's where we're with AI, but the world's not even ready to give AI to autism, which is
No.
crazy.
Yeah. It takes a while, like computers, people, and then you have people, the parents. So you have two people to deal with. You have the industries, and then you have the parents. And
Mhm.
then, trying to get people to understand and get comfortable with it's not going to kill us all. It's not going to put us all out of work. I love my business owners who say, since I've implemented AI, I've actually hired 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, because you have more time.
Exactly.
You have
Exactly.
more time. You have more
Exactly. But
time.
people think, oh, AI is going to get rid of all of us. And no, they said the same thing about computers. And because of that, a lot of the trades went by the wayside because people thought, well, let
Mm,
computers do it all. And we know that that's not realistic, that there still needs to be a human touch in the trades. And so now
yes.
we're bringing back the trades so that people can learn how to do what we had set aside, thinking that technology was going to take everybody's job.
Yeah, it's just we are just up to speed. We just access, what do they say? Like AI is like the team of five PhD students giving their homework at the same time.
I love it.
But it's it could be robotic. You just, you add your touch to it, and you could personalize your AI to your personality type. I'm left-handed. My AI knows I'm left-handed. I mean, everything. This is how I think.
Yeah,
I'm a tactical poet. I'm artistic, but I'm tactical. I don't know. So that's how I speak. And
I love it.
because I mean that's the thing. Like, parents need to, they need to learn resilience, adaptability, self-care,
Yeah,
emotional well-being,
yeah,
advocacy, and empowerment. Because a lot of people don't know that they have AI like on their computer, and that they could access it like so fast to get what they need, find out who the service provider is, everything.
absolutely. And that's the thing is because that's one of the things. There are some parents that are almost at their wits end, because I can relate. I can relate to that.
Mhm.
When you have done all you know how to do and you still keep hitting the wall, right? And then you try to talk to the professionals in the environment where you are, but it's like they're wanting to put you as a case and not a person. And so they're saying, well, we do this way, so let's do yours this way. And you're like, no,
No.
that's not what we're doing. My son, my daughter, my brother, my sister is different because their life experience has been different. And so getting help, like if you're a parent and you feel like you need some help, this is going to be invaluable to you, where you can actually have resources.
Absolutely. Like, I just finished writing a book. It's being edited right now. I started sending my manuscripts last week.
Hmm.
It's exactly what you're saying. It's called Pulling a Reverse Karen:
Mm.
Strategies for Parents of Children who have autism and their service providers. Because it was
Mm.
just literally like, you go to places, people are arrogant with you. You need services, people give you word salads. So I also teach parents how to, when people give you the runaround, like how to speak directly, how to get your services. When you go to the doctor's office, always take notes, because they're going to tell you that they didn't say what they didn't say. Like, when you go to your appointments, bring a friend, bring a support person, and take notes, so that if your doctor sees you taking notes, then you could follow up with your care. Just little tricks that I have in my book.
Yeah, yeah, because that's important because they see, and whether it's intentional or not, they see hundreds of people besides your person, and so they can easily get confused and tell you something they didn't tell you.
Uh-huh.
And I remember caring for my brother, you know, being there and being on point with one of his hospital stays, and the doctors or the nurse walked in and said, "So he's HIV positive," and I'm like, "No, he's not. He's not
What?
HIV. He's not HIV positive. No,
Mhm.
that's not him." But had I
Wow.
not been there, right? And just jotting down the different things them coming in. Well, he's a smoker. No, he's not.
Hmm.
Because I mean, just things that they would say to him, he wasn't able to
Advocate
answer
from
their
her.
question. Right. And so you have to be there, and you must be the advocate for your loved one, and you must
Hmm.
be the voice. Advocating means being the voice when they need it, means reading up on what resources are available, means connecting with people like you who can help them navigate this whole system, because these systems out here are not straight. They're not linear.
They're
They're
not
kind
linear.
of
They're
they're
very
kind
complex. Like, I've been given the runaround so much that I have
of
a black
girl.
belt.
I understand it. I promise you I understand it. Because I had the same experience with my brother. Exact same experience.
Just
Like programs when he was going through, he was getting a medication, and then the state decided, no, we're not going to give that medication anymore. We do what? And
what?
and didn't offer a substitute.
You have to say, when they give you a medication, you have to say, okay, well, how many people did you have try this medication?
Right.
What is the outcome? And how long will I take effect? And how long do I need to take this medication? A lot of
Yeah.
people don't ask these questions to doctors, so they
Don't
just
know to. Don't know to
give.
ask. Has
Mhm,
it
you
been through clinical trials? Is my first question. Has it been
exactly.
through clinical trials? What did that look like?
Yeah.
Now I know to ask those questions, but back then I didn't know. And what actually happened is the state stopped funding his medication.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they were like, well, if they still want to take it, then they have to pay for it out of pocket. And those
Mhm.
medications are nothing to play with when it comes to
No.
pricing.
Exactly.
And he couldn't afford that. And then they came up, the complaints were so much advocating that they came up with a special program for people with his income.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good. Because that's the thing. Like when, so what I want to do is that I do have the business component where I offer coaching,
Hmm.
but the, finding your North Star Autism Summit would be the charity
Yeah.
where I'm looking for people to invest in what I'm doing so that when people in the community don't have ways to get around or tablets, or because I want to make sure that no one with autism gets left behind. And that's why
Mm.
I decided to, work like I have so I'm looking for funding to register the non for profit here.
Yeah.
But, AI has no borders and autism has no borders.
Exactly.
So that's why, I just want to be of service, and
Oh
especially in
yeah.
our
Oh, I
community.
believe in the global market. I
Yeah.
truly believe in the global market. My friend Janine does helps connect businesses all around the world.
Hmm.
And I think she has African roots, but she still works with a lot of different countries and continents outside of the US. And so I think this is an opportunity for someone who wants to support your mission to help kids to be better, to give them a future, right? I hear you were talking about earlier about the IEPs, and I can remember one of my clients, her daughter was going through, and I can remember going to one of the meetings and watching and listening to the parents, because I just went to support. But I remember listening to the parents that they were at their wits' end. They had IEPs in play, but a lot of times they didn't know how to be an advocate for their child
Yeah.
with the IEP, what they can and cannot do, what they could
Mhm.
and could not say.
They're
And
so sick.
so,
Mhm.
yeah, I remember it was a room full of people who were all trying to find resolution to their children's educational blockages.
Because what happens is that children with autism become adults with autism.
Mm,
And I don't know why, but for some reason, services stop when they're 18. So when they're 18, like what I came across, there's another, case in North Carolina where, okay, like these kids are about to graduate from high school. What is the transition plan between high school and college?
mm,
So this one case in particular that I'm waiting to hear back from affects mostly lower income, black students. So you have
mm,
like autism is there's a technological divide and there's a class divide, right? So
right.
now like I said, well, okay, well depending on the interest, like, let's fundraise and getting these kids in my program. And I've done it with my son. I already have like proven methods. I could help
Hmm.
them either get employed because I helped my son he had 4 or 5 co-op placements in high school, and then he
Mm,
decided he wanted to be an entrepreneur. So either you want to, work, I could train you for work, or I could train you for self-employment. And
mm.
it's just a different, thing, for autism. And it's just because another thing is that, parents are like, oh my God, like the, the price of life has gone up, bread, cheese, everything has gone up.
I know
So,
it.
if we teach our communities like how like it's not a burden. Your child of autism is a gift, and you could totally train him to. You could either hire him for your own home business, or the child could be an entrepreneur. I'd be able to,
Absolutely.
do that. It just takes a lot of time and patience, like maybe triple, quadruple time of a business program. But hiring a person with autism, they're very loyal. They like routine. That is like the
Mhm.
best employee you could have.
Exactly, exactly, and that's it. Is just learning, and I forgot to say hello to Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. He spoke earlier when we were talking, but yeah, but understanding what empowering parents to understand what resources are available for them and what strategies work. I love that because it's needed. Like I said, going through it with my brother, man, you know, there were no books that I didn't have. His social worker, God rest her soul, tried all she could to help me, but even in that, she got off at 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
and his episodes were in the evenings at night, and
Well, what I did, my oldest son also has, like, he struggled. This is one thing. He had a basketball scholarship, went to a party, somebody laced his marijuana with
mm,
cocaine, developed psychosis.
that's what happened
So
to my brother.
in Canada and in the US, to have involuntary psychiatric help, you have to involve law enforcement to some
Yep,
degree, which is like
yep,
a whole other thing. So what I had to do in order to get my son treatment, I had to go to court, and I had to fill out a form under, I don't know what the laws are in the US or in Tennessee, but under the Mental Health Act, I basically made sure that he had to follow his treatment and whatnot.
absolutely.
And if I didn't do that, like, Lord knows what would happen. My son is actually missing now, and
Mm,
that's because of the police's involvement, because they thought I was too uppity and I knew too much of my rights and whatnot, and they gave me a hard time with taking care of my own child and
mm.
dealing with that. But I knew what to do. So what happens is that, first of all, you're not a bad parent or a bad mother or whatnot. Like, mental health happens to anybody, and you just have to know your rights. The first thing is that you know your rights. So, you know, you go to their mental health forums where you can get your, I don't know about the consent. I don't know how it works. Like, find out if you can get a lawyer, even better.
Yeah,
Finding out what the consent laws are, and then, get it like legally binding agreement to get the treatment.
absolutely.
Finding out about because a lot of times they use us as guinea pigs, right? Like you mentioned so eloquently earlier, clinical trials. How long does a medication last?
Yeah,
How long are they taking it for? What should I expect? And if the doctor can't answer that, keep moving.
absolutely. Yeah, because with him, so the Tennessee laws of the time were if he was not of harm to himself or someone else,
Hmm.
then there was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
So I would have to go and make it through the night and then take him to where he was getting his treatments and
Hmm.
have them to call the sheriff's office to take
Hmm.
him out to the institution, to the hospital.
Hmm.
And if they looked at him and said, well, he doesn't appear to be in crisis, we're not going to
Always.
do anything. Yeah, we're not going to do
Always.
anything. But I took him one time and he would just had, he has this scowl. He had this scowl on his face when he was not on his medications. And I remember the doctor was like, well, Mr. Murray, how are you doing? Da da da. And my brother just looked at him, and I don't know what he did. I think he got up out of his chair, and when he got up out of his chair, my brother hit the desk, bam. And my brother was a big dude. He's like 6'4" and a ex football player, right?
Mhm.
And so at that point, I didn't have a problem, but we didn't, all we're going to help you. I went there trying to get him. I called them first and I'm like, I don't know what to do with him. And so I
Yeah.
called them first and they were like, well, we can make an appointment, but if he's not hurting anybody, if he's not hurting himself, there's nothing we can do. So I
Yeah.
took him, yeah. So I took him in And again, the doctor was like, well, Mr. Murray, he's asking him a series of questions. And I've never understood how or why they ask them logical questions when they're in an illogical state. Like, I've
Listen,
never understood that.
we're gonna have to continue this conversation on another. I want to come back to discuss this because it's like sometimes depending on the neurotype, right? I mean, it's like being sober. If you're drunk and you see your parents, you're gonna act sober. They don't want to go to the hospital, so
Yeah.
you're gonna act sober. You know,
Yes,
I
they would
you
say,
know.
he was he was paranoid, his diagnosis was paranoid schizophrenic. And they would
Mhm.
say, are you hearing voices? No.
Well, of course,
But I
just
know for a
because,
fact he was.
yeah, they're not stupid. They have
No,
like a different neurotype, but the thing is that they always wait for people to get in trouble or dead
that's
maybe,
it.
and that's
That's
when they
it.
respond. And we have to change that, or unless
Reactive
one of the,
crisis management.
yeah,
Reactive,
yes.
not
And
preventive.
that's, I get into that in my book as well, I mean, and the other issue is what's also on the rise is sextortion.
Mm,
How a lot of people who have a low literacy index are prone to, because now with AI and being online, right? Like, children have tablets, but predators come in the tablets, and
yeah.
teaching parents how to basically, do cybersecurity around
Yeah.
their children's
Uh,
tablet. Like, yeah, it's never ending.
It's not
Um,
the
mhm.
responsibility. I mean, things you never think about because simply you don't think like that.
Yeah,
You get introduced to when you're trying to protect your own.
yeah. You have to
The
do,
vulnerability of, because with him, it was credit card companies, like predator lenders. Like,
yes,
oh my goodness, the number of
yes.
cell phones and credit cards and you know,
Mhm.
all those things. And him not being my when you were talking about going to court, before my father passed, we've the case manager that we had with human services went to court with us to get his rights taken. So he became incompetent. And that was
Mhm.
the only way that, and then I had, his power of attorney and
Uh-huh.
over medical and over his property financial. Like, I had everything
Mhm.
because people would go and borrow money and wouldn't pay
Yeah.
it back. You
Yeah.
know, family members would go
Yeah.
and do
Mhm.
things with him, and I was like, no. So I took and moved him way out of town. So if they came to him, they had to go drive a distance because it wasn't
Mhm.
easy to get to him. I had to pretty much isolate him from the predators.
Exactly. And that's the other thing also. I mean, there's also dealing with narcissistic families. The other I deal with, it's literally like a Swiss Army knife of resources. Like, I'm looking at my manuscript. I thought, but yeah, about 300 pages with diet, just all kinds of scenarios. Like, I've encountered so many scenarios, from child support to predatory lenders to, understanding how to protect your house from sextortion, IEP. Like, there's just so many topics.
There are
And
layers. Yeah, yeah. So many layers. And I love that you are a resource. And when you do your ad, I want to share it so that I can share it in my community, because these are the topics we don't talk about. Mental health and behavioral health issues have a stigma in our
yeah,
culture,
yeah.
but we have to
Well,
start.
yeah,
We have to start having the conversations.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the things that when my mother was narcissistic, well, is still narcissistic. Like, she told me my father was dead, and I believed her, and I found out he was alive. I was a victim of a childhood abduction. Crazy
Oh,
long story. So what happens is that, I was a feral child. That's why people are like, "Why did you get to do all these things?" Like, I had no supervision. So I know I had no supervision. I mean, lucky I wasn't a bad kid, but I had no supervision. So I mean, I
mm,
know that, I mean, I speak from, when I speak, it's from experience,
mm,
and then she didn't, like, although my family was in the medical field, they didn't want me talking about my child's autism because it made them look bad. Like I'm like that, and a lot of people like stigma. They
Yeah,
think that
absolutely.
they don't take people as individuals and whatnot. And what happens is that it's a generational curse. And
Absolutely. Until it affects someone that's close to them.
mhm,
Because my brother was isolated. Like he wasn't invited. He
mhm,
wasn't, he wasn't included. He wasn't invited. And I would host Super Bowl parties because his birthday was in January. So for his
okay,
birthday, I always host Super Bowl parties and invite the family to come to my house.
mhm,
But that
that's
would be
good.
that would be the only time a lot of them saw him.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So, and he cherished his family. Like he wanted to be around his family. Like he
Mhm,
loved the fact we were doing. He was like, Lynn, you doing the Super Bowl party this year? Because he
mhm,
really enjoyed having his family treat him like he was an equal.
yes. And I
So
think, and that's the other thing. Like, I think, like, one message is that if you have a relative, a brother or sister that
mm,
has a child with autism, that has a child with ADHD, reach out to them. Do not leave that family member isolated.
isolated.
Do
Yeah,
not be
yeah.
narcissistic. Be kind. Be kind because that's
Learn
your.
learn about the illness. Like
Mhm,
the best thing you can do for your family member that's going through any type of behavioral or mental issue is learn about the illness, learn about what they're going through from their frame of reference,
yes,
because it will make you compassionate.
yes,
It will make you empathetic.
absolutely. Because I
Because
know when. Sorry, I need to.
no, because we have this stigma, right? If it's,
Mhm,
it's I posted the other day, you can go to the doctor for any part of your body and it's fine, and people will support you. If somebody learns you have cancer, they're doing all they can to support you. If somebody learns you had a stroke or a heart attack, or they had to get your legs chopped off or whatever, if they learn any other part of the body, people are there to support you. But when they learn that you have to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you need to go get help with your brain, the way you think, people back off. Oh no, not
yeah.
that.
It's called the crazy. Like that's the like when you're it's like and my grandmother would always say like whatever you do, don't lose your mind because if you lose your mind and so many stigmatizing and it's like it's okay if you have a breakdown, it's okay. There is treatment for that. The
Absolutely, for
problem
everything.
is there's treatment for everything, but you need to find the right support, the right community, and I do offer
Yeah,
that in my Facebook group.
I
And
love it.
I just
I'm
and
going to
that
share your Facebook group when we get out of here. I'm going to share it
mhm,
on my pages. But because you need that community. Somebody's looking for this. I truly believe when God presses on my heart to put people on this platform, I truly believe it's because there is somebody in my audience that needs to hear from them.
mm,
That's the kind of life I lead. And so when
mhm.
he said, you need to reach out to her and you need to do it, I was like, hey, you're available because I know how this works. I know that there's somebody who are at their wits' end with their family member and they need a resource, they need a line. And so this broadcast, I hope, will be a lifeline for them to find resolution.
I'm at the service. I'm definitely at the community service. I'm there. I'm offering to everybody on this call. I'm offering a free half an hour consultation
Mm.
until Saturday. So if they want to talk to me for half an hour, I could find out where they are and I could give them a very quick plan. I'm willing to do this as a thank you to you.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to offer my service. So between today's the 5th,
Yes.
so until the 11th, which is
Okay.
next Saturday, I
Well,
believe.
thank you.
Hmm.
God bless you for that. God bless you for that. But I am so obedient. I am so obedient with when he tells me to reach out, then I reach out. And he always tells me who. And I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I never know why, but I do know the who. And so
Aw,
I just
thank
do it.
well, this is
Yeah.
my ministry. My ministry is autism, and I mean, and helping and just being the guiding light because I've been through the rough waters. I've been through,
Hey,
this is, I had my come to Jesus moment with this. It was not easy, but I've been, I've been there, and between now and next Saturday, if you could put me in touch with people who are listening, if they have
absolutely.
trouble finding me, there's a Facebook group they could find me there, and I'll meet with them for half an hour and find out where they are, and if we're a good fit, we could continue working together. Because
Absolutely.
what is the value of having peace of mind? You know
That.
what I mean? What is the value?
Hey,
What is
yeah, I,
mm,
I can speak to that. I mean, I get it. I get exactly why you're doing what you're doing, but I also get the person that needs to come see you, the person that needs to connect with you, because I was at my wit's end.
mhm,
Like I had used all the tricks in the book that I knew, and none of them were working because when you're dealing with someone who's going through autism or behavior health or whatever, it is a different experience than what you're used to.
yeah,
And so those tricks you have in the bag don't apply.
nah, nah.
You need somebody who can professionally help you get aligned with the resources that you need.
Yeah, you can't like I did take courses for this, but I mean this is lived experience, like lived experience and over 30 years of experience. Like I've been through it. And I don't think that parents should be isolated. Like
No, no.
if you're a parent out there and if you need help, you could talk to me for half an hour this week for free.
Yeah. Uh,
You
and
know,
that's the most you can do. That's the most
mm,
you can do. That's the
yeah,
most you can do. And so, as we wrap up, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to talk to the person who needs you. I'm going to pull myself out and allow you to talk to them one on one.
absolutely.
You can go ahead. If you will, give your pitch to the person who needs to find you.
Oh, because you blanked out for a moment, so I was like, oh, Miss Linda, Miss Linda. So you could find me on Facebook in the group supporting parents of children with autism during uncertain times. You could find me there, and that's how we can connect for now. My website is www.ingridwindsor.com. It's under construction, so I hope to have it up by the end of the month. And on Facebook, if you want to find me, I'm under Oni Joseph. And on LinkedIn, you could find me under Oni Joseph. And when you join the Facebook group, you could just message me, let me know that you heard me on Miss Linda's program, and I'll be more than happy to be at your service and give you a half an hour free consultation to hear you out, understand what you're struggling with. And when you train with me, I have a 3-month program and a 6-month program where I teach parents 6 keys for parents of autism during times of uncertainty. I will hold your hand and we will address, one issue at a time and put you and your family on a path to success. You will have more time with your family. You will have a higher income because there'll be less sick days. You'll have better health, everything, but you just have to take the first step. And this is for parents who are willing to do the work. It's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it. Imagine, if you're going through stress right now, what is that worth to you financially to work with a coach to get you out of that, you know, out of that bad state of mind and situation? And if you need help with, getting your children on the right path at school with homework, and I'm willing to, if you meet with your teachers on Zoom, I could attend Zoom meetings from Canada at your school. I could be there to support you. IEPs, you name it. I mean, I know that there are also IEPs for diabetes as well. for autism, and some people with autism have diabetes. Like, they're just different things that you could get support for. I can go on and on and on. Yeah.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
You have been listening to the Business Plugs Mixer. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug, and I just plugged you in to support for parents who have children with autism. Go ahead and connect with her in wherever you're watching this video. And she says until Saturday, you can have a free one-on-one consultation with her. So go ahead and connect with her through her website. And then we'll see you next week on the Business Plugs Mixer every Sunday here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great week, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.